Now, our reporter Dasen Thathiah is travelling in different areas in Durban. He's asking people for their budgetary predictions as well. Let's go now to him live. Now, Dasen, earlier you spoke to a group of students who were very practical in the needs that they wanted to have addressed by the finance minister. What are you hearing from the area that you are in now?
That's right, Marcel. In fact, earlier you saw that there was quite a diverse range of views. Some of them talking about Eskom, others talking about the importance of funding for small businesses, and those are some of the things that they wanted to see as they leave the university setting and now move into the working world. So I've now assembled other students that are here at the university, and I was having a discussion with them. In fact, I just want to bring them into the conversation. Earlier we were talking about the fact that last year the talk was around education, but it's about more than that for students. You know, it's not just the case of free education. You are also afflicted by other issues, just like other South Africans in general. What's top of mind for you as you wait to hear what the finance minister announces during this budget speech?
Yes, I want to know how it's going to please the voters and please the credit rating agencies. It's actually impossible. We have our FX deficit sitting at about 60%, and our budget deficit last year was about 5%. So are we going to go out and borrow more and risk being dumped to the junk status, or is going to please the credit ratings and cut the public spending? Actually, our biggest spending is on public servants' wages. So now they're going to be laying off workers. That is going to affect the voting of the votes that the eNCA is going to get if they're going to lay off the workers. But if he wants to trade carefully between pleasing the credit rating agencies and the South African citizen, is an impossible job. Oh, we also want to know how much is going to pour in on the bottomless SOEs that keep on taking money, but do not see value for it. It only goes away.
Yeah, definitely a balancing act for Tito Mboweni there. And you, ma'am, what is important to you? Where do you want to see our money going?
I'm looking forward to see how money is allocated towards housing, especially for those that are pensioners who cannot afford their rent and bonds, and especially those that are struggling to find housing, that are living in informal settlements and want to move on and be at least financially stable in terms of housing. Yeah.
And what about you?
With me, I'd like to find out basically how the budget is, how much funding or how basically basic sanitation requirements are actually, like, how can I say, considered, in a sense that we all of us as human beings, we all have, you know, natural bodily functions basically that we cannot basically control. But what about those people basically who cannot afford pads, people who are homeless? What are we doing to basically provide water for drinking and for, like, flushing toilets or cleaning our places? How much money is actually, like, provided and actually allocated to basic sanitation requirements? That's
certainly something that should be given prominence. And what about you, just as we head towards the budget speech?
For me, it's basically the hospitalization functions in South Africa. I feel like the public health sector is not made to accommodate everyone. For instance, like, my personal experience was that I had to wait on a waiting list for 3 months for a CAT scan, and I'm starting to think that if it was a really dire issue, like a prominent, like, disease, what would have happened? Like, I could have probably died while waiting for that. So it's a situation like that. Or with pensioners, some of them can't bear with the pain, and how are we expecting them to be able to be on these waiting lists and supposedly deal with just swallowing painkillers while we know that there's money available, or there should be money available that is being put on to get more equipment and more doctors and more qualified people to be in the system? So that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure healthcare will be one of the priorities, as it has been over the past few years. Marcel, that's more views from these students, just touching on some important issues. The last one there being healthcare, and that young lady waiting to see how the hospitals could be improved, along with the first gentleman just talking about that extreme balancing act that Tito Mboweni will have to pull off in about 50 minutes or so.